And so I want to bring up our incredible CEO, Mr. Paul Mikel, to share a little bit about the journey.
Thank you. So what Julius doesn't tell you is that I'm actually his Uber driver. Because, and that's not a lie, the 2 times I've ever seen him live in life, I picked him up at the airport and took him to a hotel. Like, that's an Uber driver by definition. So he flew into Florida, and I was like, I'll come pick you up. And I'm not saying that to be bragging or anything, but you usually don't have CEOs of companies come pick you up. Like, and now after seeing him speak and how great he is, I'm not ever picking him up again. But he's good. Like, right? I mean, that's what makes me excited about our company. Like, I started in sales when I was 22 years old. I met a guy. I was born and raised in Fort Worth, and don't pay attention to what I'm doing here. So some of you won't stop looking at these the whole time. But so I was born and raised in Fort Worth. I was one of those people that I wasn't smart. I barely got out of high school. And I always wanted to be successful, but I didn't know how. And my parents are missionaries. They're amazing people. But when you're raised in the church and you're raised by missionaries, you're taught that wanting to go out and make a lot of money is not the best thing. Like, you should give it all away. And I'm like, but I want it. Like, I want to make money and keep it, you know? And so at 22 years old, I met a guy that goes, listen, I was frustrated. How many of you know people are frustrated? You know, I have friends of mine that went to college. They did all the things you're supposed to do. I waited tables in a country club, and I just wasn't going anywhere. But I met a guy at 22 that goes, I don't care about where you came from. I care about where you want to go. All the motivational things people, and I bought in. Like, some people go, my parents go, oh, you went to one of those things. You got all excited. You should sit down and go back to church. And they were right about the go back to church part. But I got excited because finally somebody told me, if you have a good personality, maybe you can turn it into something. And that's not what I was ever taught. I was taught you know how to go work with a company. You know, it's so funny in our society, we take so long to change. My dad worked for AT&T for 20 years. I met with a gentleman today who was telling me he worked for a company for a long time. My dad did AT&T for 20 years. Of course, Lisa comes in right in the middle of this.
Brings another troublemaker.
8 years later, and she's still late to everything. I'm just kidding. So my dad worked for this company. I didn't want to do that kind of stuff. And so I got lucky at 22. I started doing all kinds of different things. I got into network marketing. I got into different companies. I owned my own companies. I owned pawn shops, jewelry stores. I built a company that was buying over $1 million a week in gold at one point. And I had fun. And then about 6 years ago, one of the guys I first trained in a marketing company came to me and he goes, Paul, I want you to get into delivery. And I'm like, I knew it was going to end up bad in my life, but a delivery driver? Like, that's what you think I'm at right now? And I was doing some other things, and I didn't understand how delivery worked. But I knew companies were starting to get into it. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was doing very well in it. He had about 30 cities at the time. He wanted me to open it. And I'm like, I threw a little bit of money at it, but what I really didn't understand at the time is why anyone on earth as a business owner would give 30% of their profit to a delivery company. Like, a delivery company picks up from Burger King or any of the, how many, like Mexican Inn we talked about, one of my favorite places on earth. This is sad, but I've been here for 48 hours and I've had Mexican food 4 times. Because in Florida we get Mexican food, but it ain't Texas Mexican. And so, I mean, I may go up again on the way home if any place is open, just to get it all in. But Julius is right. I did come in for my mom's birthday, and I haven't spent like more than 40 minutes with her. Because this is important to me. Like, this is business. My parents understand that, but I don't even know. Listen, I have ADD so bad. Like, I get thoughts in my head, and I usually circle back around. So just understand, I'll get there. What was I talking about?
Mexican food.
Now I just want to go eat Mexican food.
The velvet taco is
Yeah. So I threw. Thank you. See, listen, Ken. I'm glad Kenny's here. He's smart. He keeps me on track. So I threw some money at the delivery business. But I didn't get it. I didn't understand why restaurants would pay that money. Because when they pick up the food, does the driver get in the back seat and like season it better, make it, hopefully not. Like, the driver doesn't increase the value of the food from the time they pick it up to the time they drop it off, right? So why does a restaurant need 20% of their profit? Minimum, they usually do 20%. And some were higher. Some of these companies were 36% whenever they started doing it. So I never got it, but I'm also not an idiot. I was like, all right, if everybody else is doing it and I can make money doing it, let's do it. And so Tony our COO and one of my best friends, an amazing person. I started doing it with him. He ended up building that company to $30 million a year, 300 cities. I had about 10 or 15 of those cities at one point. We ended up selling it out, and he sold it out for a reason. I kept telling him, there's got to be a different way to do it. And he kept telling me, we're making money, you shut up. And I'm like, all right. But I knew there was a way to do it differently. I just knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And my favorite thing on earth is when Tony has to tell me now that I was right. I don't care if this is a $1 billion company. The fact that Tony, hopefully he's watching, has to tell me I was right. And it's not that I was right. I mean, it's just things change. And it's like these big companies have done all our advertising for us. When you see what we put together, all we did was go, you screwed up, we're going to do it this way. You messed up, we're going to do it this way. And if you understand disruption and how it works, and what's it? Facebook. MySpace was out before Facebook, right?
Yes.
He came in and did it differently. He didn't monetize it in the beginning. He tried to do it the right way. Same thing with Amazon. Same thing with these companies. And you got to do it, but you got to start with a good group of people. And that's what we have. Having someone like Julius is I'm not kidding. Like I've seen him speak a little bit live at one of our events, and I've seen him on overviews and things like that, and I knew he was amazing. I know he's that good because like he's just, like, I probably won't speak again in the company because I'm embarrassed, but not true. I run my mouth a lot. So, but what I got excited about the people. That's all I get excited about. This stuff doesn't fire me up. It really doesn't. Like, I don't care. I don't sit at home at night and go, yes, Lord, thank you for bringing me to delivery. This is the greatest thing ever. I still don't get excited about delivery. I get excited about what it can do for people. I get excited what it can do for a restaurant. When I sit down with the restaurant owner and I show them, this is what you're going to save, and they do it and it works, it makes me beyond anything on earth. It gives you that good feeling. Like, we're going to have a thermometer on our website that shows how much we saved. They have 2 cities that were open, Bremerton, Washington, and Elmira, New York. About a week they were open. That first week we saved those restaurants about $500. You wait until that kind of word gets out. Like, you think, I tell people, Snap is going to be a train going 200 mile an hour west. No matter how much you try to run the other way and screw it up, it's going to go that way, right? And when you got people that are leadership like Julius. Julius didn't have to be here tonight. He flew in from Baltimore and was here because he wanted to. And then he suckered me into being here. I mean, I shouldn't have told him I was coming to Texas. I'm just kidding. I told him I was coming to Texas and I'm going to be here Wednesday to Sunday. And every minute of my day is filled up. And that makes me more excited than anything because there's a small group of people in here. Next time I come back and we do this again, there'll be 3 times this many. Right. And when you hit a momentum phase in a company, which we will hit extremely fast, we've already hit it and we've tried to hold it back. Like, Tony came to me at one point and said, can you be ready in 2 months? And I said, for what? For football season? Yes, I can be ready. It was in July, and I said, yeah, September 1st or whenever it is, September 9th was opening day. And this is the exact conversation we had. He goes, can you get this company ready to launch in 2 months? Because I have a group of people we need to do this for. And I'm like, sure? And he goes, is that a real sure, or is that a sure we'll figure this thing out? And I'm like, it's always a sure and we'll figure it out. So we weren't supposed to launch anything until January, but we accelerated it. And of course, the Dallas Cowboys decided to do good this year of all years. Like, usually by this time, I'm already depressed. Like, and I'm like, really? Like, I don't sit there and watch. The only time I take off on a weekly basis right now is to watch the game. And that's it. And even during the game, I'm working half the time. Because it's not because I have to, because I want to. And it's not because I need the money. It's not because Julius needs the money. None of us are doing a lot of the leadership and the owners. We're not doing this because we want to make a lot. We need the money. I want to build a $1 billion company. And that's what I want. For 2 reasons. 3 reasons. 2 of them are very selfish. I have 2 ex-wives that I want to know they're not getting a dime of it. And, just kidding. But I want my kid too. Like, if you ever hear me talk about my kid, I get emotional because your kids are the only thing you leave here. You don't leave this world with anything else. You have memories and, and I believe you go to heaven. But when I die, I want my kid to have something. How many parents, they work their tails off their whole life and their kids don't have anything to show for it? They're in debt. How many parents leave their kids debt nowadays? And so I have a kid that's 19 years old. And when I got divorced 10 years ago, I didn't want anything but my kid and my businesses. When he turned 17, I decided I made a big mistake. I really should have not chosen him because he's a jerk some days. I'm just kidding. But I look at my kid and I look at the future, and if we don't do something different, like kids know how to use apps better than anything. Right. You know, and it's like my mom knows how to use an app now. And if I find her using DoorDash, I'm gonna punch her right in the mouth. I'm kidding, it's her birthday, I won't. But I was not raised to be an entrepreneur, and I got very, very lucky that I met some people that taught me how to be one. They made me be one. I wanted to be one, but I didn't know how to do it. And Julia says, people wonder if we can do it. We've already done it. Like we've already built, like Tony and I built a huge company, Tony more than myself. When you hear Tony's story, Tony learned the delivery business from the ground up. He owned a restaurant in, I think it was Wichita or Topeka, Kansas. He and his partner, they had a company that was kind of doing delivery, like Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff did. It was a small. They went to this guy, and they got rid of all their drivers. They had a pizza place. They got rid of their drivers because it was working so well. And then Tony decided they wanted to do it in their other city. And they went to this guy and they said, hey, can you do what you're doing for us here in Wichita, Kansas? And the guy goes, I'm so busy, I can't do that. I sometimes think about that guy. And I'm like, if he would have said yes to Tony, and they would have done another city, and another city, and another city, but how many of us have ever heard opportunities are never lost, they just go to different people? Right. So what happened was Tony was forced into figuring out a way to do the delivery, and he just said, you know what? I'll start my own company. And then he came to me and other people that we knew, and he said, let's do this. And it took 3 years for us to finally formulate the right way to do this. We wanted to do it so that we didn't have to spend $100 million on advertising. How many of you have ever heard the best form of advertising on earth is word of mouth, right? That's what we got. I didn't talk to anyone in this room, even including Lisa, and I know her. There's a friend of hers named Clint Robertson I went to high school with. He's on TV, has a show called HGTV Outgrown. And I was talking to him, he went to Lisa, and she's here tonight. I didn't get Julius, I didn't get Kenny, I didn't get any of the people in this room. But because of the concept and because of other people talking about it, that's why we're growing. And then on top of that, we didn't want to keep the money for ourselves. How many of you think if you called up to Uber Eats, DoorDash, or Grubhub today and you said, you know what? I referred a couple of people to you last month. I'd like to get a commission on that. I think somebody, maybe I'll try it and then record it. And I'm the one that would do it too. But it's funny to me though, because guess what? Those companies, and I'm not trying to be mean, from what I've read, like this is not me making up stuff, I've read that those companies don't make profit. How can you be in business for 4 to 5 years and still not make a profit? Like, it doesn't make sense. But guess what? Because they're not taking care of people. Our drivers, I have to switch the way our drivers think. A lot of drivers, if you look online and you watch what's going on, you'll find there's a thing going around right now online, but it's a McDonald's, and there's like 25 bags of food. Because when a driver they have the ability to say decline, 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 if it's not paying them enough. And guess what happens? Drivers do it all day long. And if they decline it too many times, that order gets canceled. The restaurant is out the food, the customer doesn't get the order, and the driver doesn't make the money because drivers cherry pick. I had a driver the other day and I said, he made $4 because we pay out $3 on every single order plus 100% of their tips. And on this one order, it was about 4.8 miles. We'll get into all the details on how things work, but he made like almost $5. And I said, how long did it take you? And he was all upset. And he goes, I'm not going to do this with your company. And I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And he goes, what? And I go, I'm just being a smart mouth. I go, what I should have said to him is, oh my God, you know, you're right. I'm going to quit too. I'm glad you finally came to your senses because I don't know what I'm doing. But I said to him, I said, listen, do you hate Uber Eats and DoorDash and the way they pay you and the way they try to hide your money? They try to do all kinds of stuff. And he goes, yes. And I go, then why are you telling me that we should be like them? And he goes, oh.
Wow.
And he's like, I go, listen, we're going to have a different culture. I go, I'm not going to show the drivers exactly what they're going to make before they go do the order because and I said, listen, in your company, do you have the ability to refer other drivers? No, I can. He goes, I can. And I go, and guess what? They put so many stipulations on those things. You get that person you refer has to do 22 deliveries on a Saturday when it's raining and with the sun out on both sides of the continent. Like something weird. If you haven't ever driven, I promise you these things are true. I'm being a little over the top, but they make you do so many things. Ours, you introduce somebody to the company, every single time they do an order, you get paid. And I said to him, do you have that option with that company? And he's like, no. And I said, guess what? We don't charge as much, we pay out more money to the people in the field, and that's how you build it. My mentor always taught me, you can shear a sheep for life, you can only skin it once. And these places have been skinning these restaurants for way too stinking long. Like Lisa told me she went out and talked to her first restaurants today, and she's an emotional blubberhead, just like I am in a lot of ways. But she goes, I almost had tears in my eyes. Go, you cry at everything anyway. But she goes, hearing some of the things, it becomes real when you talk to the restaurants because they're so frustrated. They got beat up by COVID. They had to shut down. They had to lay off their staff. They can't find staff now because everybody wants to be on unemployment or whatever's going on. And it's like, and then on top of that, these places are taking their money and killing them. And I go to restaurants sometimes now and they're like, well, I don't pay those delivery fees. And I go, what do you mean you don't pay those delivery fees? They go, well, my DoorDash, when I got mad at me, they said that I could raise the price on my food and just put it into there. And I said, so instead of you getting screwed, now your customer's getting screwed. And it doesn't register. They're like, oh. I go, do you think if you raise the price of your food that your customer might not order as much?
I've done it.
Right.
Clicked off.
Yes. And you better delete that app too. I'm just kidding. I got an app you can download. I have a referral code too.
I have a referral code.
So we're gonna spend some time tonight, and I mean we talk to 3 different types of people on a daily basis, and most of you are here because we're here. Most of you are into the business. You're excited about it. We don't have to convince you. I mean, some people drove from Houston to see Julius and I wouldn't drive across the street. Maybe Julius, but and my biggest thing and my most exciting thing in the company comes from when Becky, right? Becky opened Sherman, and you've already done an order, right? Like the day she got an order, and I know you haven't done a lot, but that's when you go, oh crap, this does work. Because until you hit that point, you're like, God, I hope it works. I got these restaurants. So our job as a company is to help make it work. You know, our job, I'm not here tonight because I need to be here, because the company would go whether I'm here or not. But if I can help throw gas on the fire, fuel on it, and make it bigger and help Texas get bigger and better, and instead of my adopted state I live in, Texas, everything's supposed to be bigger and better. So there's 3 types of people we talk to on a daily basis. First type person goes, you know what, I'm interested, but I don't want to really work it. I'm going to become a customer. I'll do that. Great, that's fine. And the great thing about what we do is it doesn't matter what somebody wants to do. If they want to just become a customer and refer some people, how awesome do you think it would be if some of those people, and I hope Tony isn't watching this part, because I like to run my mouth and tell stuff I'm not supposed to tell, but I own it, so I can do whatever I want. They always tell me, they're like, when you go talk, we get scared. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you are like a little 8-year-old. You get something excited, and then you go run around and tell everybody about it. I'm like, well, I mean, we're not hiding nothing. So, how many, lady in the back with the camouflage, tell me your name again? Okay, I'm not even going to try to say it. We were talking about it, and how many of you have ever heard of crypto? Crypto's huge. I equate, because I don't understand crypto. And I met with some programmers and stuff this week in Florida, and they're like, Paul, we're going to get a cryptocurrency, and it's going to be, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Because to me, crypto, a lot of it looks like, how many of you ever seen, there's tons of them out there, right? Correct. And none of them have a reason. They don't have a use. But everybody's excited about them, right? I said, it's like building a house and hoping somebody moves in. Like, but guess what? What if we had a crypto coin and our drivers got paid in crypto if they wanted to, and our customers could use crypto to order food? And I'm going to tell you something I'm really probably not supposed to tell you for sure. They told me not to say this, but I don't care. How many of you have ever seen, like, how many of you have ever heard of the game Farmville? Yeah. There's games out there, right? Games dictate so much in life. So at some point we're gonna have a delivery game. And I know it sounds dumb, but I see friends of mine playing Candy Crush. My mom plays Candy Crush and she's 74 years old. I'm like, you need to get a life. But games are what it takes people. What if you could have a game where somebody was playing the delivery game and it gave them ways, things they had to do, they had to make sure they had enough drivers on, just a game. And I know that sounds dumb, but guess what? That can change the way people do things. Because guess what? When they go to order food, guess who they're going to order if they have a game with it? So that's just one little thing. And we're going to have not just restaurant delivery. Next thing we'll go into is groceries. The next thing we'll go on, we may have alcohol at some point, may not. We'll have floral. We'll have dry cleaning. Anything that can be delivered that's legal, we'll do. Because I've made some suggestions and they're like, we're not doing that, Paul. But we're a legit company. I make a lot of jokes, but I believe in doing things by the book, doing things the right way. But I'm aggressive. Like, I'm real aggressive. I want to go, I just did an interview this afternoon on a radio deal, and the guy goes, so you're kind of like David and Goliath. I go, there's no way I was like David, because I'm way too fat to be a David. I couldn't outrun Goliath, I couldn't, any of it. But he goes, listen, you're going up get some big people. Like, they have hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal. What makes you think you can win? And I go, what makes you think I can't? And he goes, that's a good point. And I said, guess what? What if we go to work and we bust our butts and Uber Eats has 66 million users and DoorDash is bigger than them. What if we miss the mark and we only get 20 million and everyone in this room, because you got focused and you went out and got restaurants, you had a percentage of those in your pocket? Would you care if we don't beat them? No. But let me tell you something. We're going to beat them because when people figure out that we're not lying, that we're not making up stuff, that we're not hiding fees, that we're not burying things in there, and that the owners of the company are not taking that money and going buying jets. You know, I mean, I got to an age, I used to have all those toys. There's a couple of toys I still want. I mean, if we get big enough, I'm buying the Cowboys because somebody's got to fix that. Just kidding, Mr. Jones. I would like to have a suite at some point. But I was raised to sit in my chair, be quiet, and do what I was told. And I don't do that. And my mom and dad, it's so funny because they raised me to be a certain way. They raised me to be a preacher. And when I was at 15 years old at my church, the ladies in my church were sitting there at dinner on Wednesday night before choir practice and all the youth stuff. And they said, Paul, when you grow up, you're either going to be a televangelist or you're going to be a used car salesman. I'm like, those don't sound like positive things to me at all. Like, that's what you think. But what happened was I finally got to an age where I'm like, my personality matters. I can have fun doing stuff if I can motivate, inspire, get other people to do it. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Because I won't do something that's bad. I don't want to take advantage of people. I don't want to hurt people. I'm at a stage in my life where the money's not important, but winning is. And not winning for myself. It's winning for people in the company. I can't wait till Julius, like we've got a great, I can't wait till I can get a better car than a rental car to pick him up in and be his Uber driver and get an Escalade to pick him up. So, we're going to take 5 minutes. I'm not one of those big closer guys at the end, but hopefully, did I do all 3 things? First type person,
No.
you just want to, I think I only went through one. Some of you are going to go home and go, I don't know what that guy's talking about, but you went through one thing and I got to go find out what the other 2 were. Second thing is you got more questions. You want to understand how the system works? Do you really pay this out? There's a lot of moving parts to what we do. This is not a business where you go, hey, you should get into business. And that's what some people still treat this like. How many know network marketing companies? People get excited, lotions, potions, all that kind of stuff. I've owned those companies too. This is not that. You don't just get in and tell someone good luck. You don't get someone in and they just sell some products. This is a business where you've got to actually work. That's a novel concept in America. But you got to go talk to the restaurants. You got to work with them and get them signed up. We'll teach you how to do that kind of stuff. You know, in Bremerton, Washington, we have Chantel and Walt. And it's funny because they were sharing a couple weeks ago on a call, and they went in together. You know, and some of you are in cities you're by yourself. I know, Becky, you're by yourself in your city, right? But she went out and just did it. And it's easier now that you've done it, right? The more you do something, the easier it gets. And so Walt and her went out, and the things that happen as you go along in a company, especially in a startup, are the best. Because 5 years from now, those are the things we talk about. I've built many startups that went to $1 million status, but there were days where I'm like, I don't know if this thing's going to go anywhere. There's days with this company that I'm like, if these stupid referral codes don't work, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, it wouldn't work, it wouldn't download, it wouldn't do this, it wouldn't do that, but guess what? You work through the problems, and if any of you want to come and be on my side, I'll give you CEO title all day long. I can't stand it, but I got to do it. I'd much rather be in the field doing what we're doing right this second and going to restaurants, and we get to do that too. But the third type person is like I was when I first met my mentor at 22. I knew I didn't have anything going on. Some of you have a lot going on. You have other jobs, you have other businesses, but this is an opportunity to do something huge, to do something that nobody else is doing. There's no other company that structured their company like we've done it in the delivery space. And there's no other company that has Tony Swan tagged with them. I promise you, like Tony's flat out one of the best I've ever seen. Like, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't with Tony. I just wouldn't have, because I just know who he is. I know at his core who he is. He brought me into his company, and I was one of they always call me one of their mentors, which is a weird thing to hear. I'd rather have mentors than be one, but I understand my spot right now, but the third type person, like I said, you want to do this, you want to understand. So what we're going to do is take a 5-minute break, hit the bathroom, do whatever. Julius and I are going to come back up, and we'll just, let's just do questions. Like, you're here because you want to know something. So we're going to do some questions and answers, and guess what? Someone else will have some questions you don't, and maybe I'll tell you the duck story.
Yeah.
So, take your break.
Thank you.